$2 trillion. Not a typo, not a rounding error. $2 trillion. That is what the Pentagon now says it will cost to build, upgrade, and fly the F-35 fleet, and the jet still isn't finished. Somewhere right now, a brand new F-35 is sitting on a runway, fully painted, fully built, and not combat ready, because the software inside it still doesn't work the way it's supposed to. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly where that $2 trillion is going, why the most expensive weapons program in human history keeps getting more expensive instead of less, and why, despite all of this, nobody is canceling it. Before we go further, hit subscribe, because we break down exactly this kind of story every single week, numbers and all. Section 1. The sticker price and why it's a lie. Let's start with the number Lockheed Martin loves to put in press releases. $82.5 million. That's the advertised flyaway cost of an F-35A, the Air Force version, based on recent production lot. Sounds almost reasonable for a 5th-generation stealth fighter, right? Except that number is doing a magic trick. It doesn't include the engine. The F-135 engine alone costs another $20.4 million, and that price just jumped, because engines from the previous production lot cost only $14 to $15 million. Add that in, and a single F-35 now crosses the $100 million mark before it even leaves the factory. And that's just the Air Force variant. The Marine Corps version, the F-35B, with its vertical landing lift fan, runs about $109 million. The Navy's carrier variant, the F-35C, costs around $102 million. None of that includes weapons, training, spare parts, or the support package most buying countries actually need, which routinely pushes the real cost per jet toward $150 to $220 million once everything is bundled in. Now here's where it gets worse. The F-35's real superpower isn't just stealth. It's supposed to be a constantly upgrading flying computer. That upgrade package is called Block 4, and it was supposed to be simple. 66 new capabilities, a $10.6 billion price tag, finished by 2026. That was the plan in 2018. Reality had other ideas. By 2021, Block 4's cost had already grown past $16.5 billion, more than 50% over budget, and capabilities kept getting added, now sitting around 80 planned upgrades instead of 66. The finish line kept moving too. First pushed to 2029. Then a Pentagon review found the program wouldn't even start delivering most of these upgrades until the mid-2030s. Today, auditors say Block 4 is running over $6 billion above original estimates, and at least 5 years late, with officials now aiming for a stripped-down version by 2031, 6 years behind the original promise. The single biggest villain in this story has a boring name: Technology Refresh 3, or TR3. Think of it as the new processor and cockpit software the jet needs before any Block 4 upgrade can even function, a $1.9 billion piece of the puzzle. TR3 has been plagued by software that engineers politely call unstable, which in plain language means radar glitches and cockpit displays that don't reliably work. That instability forced the Pentagon to halt deliveries of brand new F-35s for an entire year. Even after deliveries resumed, jets kept showing up late. In 2024, Lockheed delivered 110 aircraft, and every single one arrived late, by an average of 238 days. That's up from 61 days late just 1 year earlier. Lockheed now says combat-capable jets with working TR3 software won't start arriving until sometime in 2026, 3 years behind the original schedule. Here's a detail most creators miss. To run all of Block 4's new sensors and systems, the jet needs more electrical power and more cooling than its current engine can comfortably provide. So the engine has to work harder, which means it wears out faster. Auditors now estimate that extra strain alone accounts for $38 billion of the program's total cost growth. The Pentagon's answer was to plan an entirely new engine upgrade, But the manufacturing technology for that upgrade isn't even mature yet, and full production isn't expected before 2031 to 2033. So the fix for the cost overrun is creating its own cost overrun. If you're finding this breakdown useful, drop a comment telling me which fighter jet program you want us to expose the real numbers on next. We read every single one. Now let's zoom out to the full number. The Pentagon isn't just building 2,470 F-35s. It's committing to fly and maintain them for 77 years. When you add the purchase price, the Block 4 modernization, the engine upgrade, and 77 years of fuel, maintenance, spare parts, and pilot training, the total lifecycle cost exceeds $2 trillion, making the F-35 not just the most expensive fighter jet ever built, but the most expensive weapons program in the history of the human race. For comparison, that's more than the entire annual defense budget of every country on Earth except one. And even the operating cost alone is staggering, keeping one F-35 a flying cost somewhere in the low to mid $30, 0s per flight hour, with the Pentagon's actual target not achievement, target sitting around $25,000 an hour. To put that number in perspective, 1 hour of F-35 flight time costs more than most people make in an entire month, and the Air Force alone plans to keep flying these jets for decades to come. It also helps to compare this jet against its closest rivals. Russia's Su-57 and China's J-20 are both produced at a fraction of the F-35's unit price, largely because neither country publishes real audited numbers and neither program has attempted anything close to the F-35 scale of international supply chains, software integration, or sensor fusion. That secrecy makes direct comparisons unreliable, but it also means the F-35 is the only fifth-generation fighter on Earth whose cost overruns are actually being tracked, reported, and argued about in public by independent auditors. In a strange way, the $2 trillion number exists precisely because the American system forces transparency that its rivals never have to deal with. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The F-35 is now too big to fail. Over 1,000 jets have already been delivered to the US and more than a dozen allied nations, from the UK to Japan to Finland. Canceling it wouldn't just waste $2 trillion already committed. It would leave America and its allies without a next-generation stealth fighter for another decade, at a moment when China's J-20 and Russia's Su-57 are actively expanding. So instead of canceling, the Pentagon is doing the only thing it can, splitting Block 4 into its own separate program, forcing tighter reporting, and quietly admitting that some of the originally promised capabilities may never get delivered at all. So the next time someone tells you the F-35 costs $82 million, you'll know that's barely half the real story. Between a delayed engine, unstable software, and a modernization program that keeps growing instead of shrinking, this jet has become the most expensive lesson in defense procurement history, and it's a lesson that's still being written. If this video helped you actually understand where that $2 trillion goes, do 3 things for me. Subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown, hit the like button, and drop a comment with the next defense program you want exposed. I'll see you in the next one.